Really good to be with you today. I'm no way promoting what I'm about to talk about, but quite a few years ago I helped a friend of mine build his house in Bethany, and it was located across the street from the Rolling Hills Asylum. And I knew it at the time as the Carriage Village, but even before that, it was known as the Genesee County Nursing Facility or Nursing Home. And even before that, 1826, when it was established as the New York State Poorhouse for paupers to live in. The description of who was able to be a resident there, actually they called the person an inmate, is as follows. I'll give you that description from the original description of it. And this is who it said was able to be the residents there. Habitual drunkards, lunatics, one who by disease, grief, or accident lost the use of reason, or from old age, or sickness or weaknesses, was so weak of mind as to be incapable of governing or managing their affairs. That was who was permitted there. Or paupers, a person with no means of income. State paupers, one who is blind, lame, old, or disabled with no income source. Or a vagrant. and then, due to some of the residents not having any family that had any concern from them, there was also a graveyard somewhere on that property where people were buried when that became necessary. Well, as a result of the Rolling Hills Asylum's history, recently the property has become a haven for those who desire to tap into the realms of the supernatural. They offer there now ghost hunts or tours inside the building, inside the asylum. Although some of that was put on hold recently because they weren't considered an essential business, go figure, right? But I believe from their website they just started social distancing tours there again. I don't have an explanation, and I don't suggest you look into it yourself either. Now really, all joking aside, there is a reason that I do not promote the current intentions of the owner of this facility. It's because God doesn't support it. In fact, God warns us very carefully not to mess around in such things. Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 10 says this: "Let no one be found among you who sacrifices their son or daughter in the fire, or who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, or engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or who is a medium or a spiritist, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord." And there's a lot of verses that I could have referenced that say very similar things to that. But the reality is that many have decided that there's power and intrigue contained within such things as this. So they spend their time and their energy in things like ghost hunts or shows or horoscopes or psychic readings. All of which God would say is it's just something to avoid, because there is real satanic presence at times contained in such things. But let me introduce you today to a group of people who wish they never, ever had anything supernatural like that at all happen to them. It happens again as we're still in the book of Daniel. After a new king, it's actually Nebuchadnezzar's grandson, Belshazzar, takes over the kingdom. Well, he sort of takes over the kingdom. Honestly, his tenure as a king was so short-lived that most would say he never really made it to kingship anyhow. But what he does in this short moment that he seems to have the power is he throws a party for all the big shots in the kingdom. And this is what happens, Daniel chapter 5, verses 4 through 9. As they drank wine and they praised the gods of gold, silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone, suddenly the fingers of a human hand appeared and wrote on the plaster of the wall near the lampstand in the royal palace. The king watched the hand as it wrote. His face turned pale and he was so frightened that his legs became weak and his knees were literally knocking. The king summoned the enchanters and the astrologers and the diviners. And then he said to the wise men of Babylon, "Whoever reads this writing tells me what it means will be clothed in purple, have a gold chain placed around their neck. He'll be made the third highest ruler in the kingdom." Then all the king's wise men came in, and they could not read the writing or tell the king what it meant. So King Belshazzar became even more terrified, and his face grew more pale, and his nobles were baffled. This poor guy saw a ghost. And contrary to those who are going to rolling hills, at least Belshazzar was smart enough to know that he really didn't want to. Now, I guess I would tell you, as a believer in Jesus Christ, in that aspect, you're probably better off to be more like Belshazzar. There is nothing about that kind of thing that God wants us to be involved in. Do I believe that ghosts exist? Well, not in the form of spirits that have come back from the dead. I certainly do not. God doesn't give us any indication that once we leave this earth, that we are either permitted to come back or that those in heaven would ever even want to come back. But we do know that there is a powerful and evil demonic activity that is happening out there that we don't fully understand, and we are warned by God not to mess with. So what's my main point to all of this? Well, it's this. The power and the Spirit of God is far more powerful and attractive than all of that. You would be way better off to be intrigued by God's power and study that and tap into that than you would ever be wasting your time distracted with supposed psychic phenomenons and ghost stories. Besides, just ask old Belshazzar. You really don't want to see a ghost anyhow. But what you do want is to walk with God every day and in everything that you do. That's what you want. We'll see you tomorrow.